Our today's topic will be specifically focused on nurturing resilient children against bullies, addiction, self-harm, and even suicidal. Now, I think for the past 5 to 10 years, we should have seen enough, heard enough, even read enough, okay, how many children across nationalities, races, social economic status that succumb to all the social ills, including, yes, suicidal. WHO reported that suicide is the second leading cause of death among adolescents aged 15 to 19. In 2017, 10% of the youth aged 13 to 17 have suicidal thoughts, and 7% of them will do so. This is 2017 statistic. Today, in 2020, the number has increased so much more. So, all these social ills are truly our parenting challenges and possible nightmare. Yeah. Okay, now, we want to take the next 2 hours to talk about how we can fortify our children to go to that direction. So basically, our agenda divided into 2 parts. The first part, the first 50 minutes, we will have our speakers, right, to give us talks on 4 handles, to nurture our children to be resilient emotionally. The 4 subtopics are parenting style, communication, parent-child attachment to help regulate emotion, and lastly, tackling I generation. I stand for information technology, and we want to cultivate from young, gadget-wise children so that they won't succumb to unnecessary addiction, okay? The second half, we will have questions and answer, right? We will have later another 2 panelists come up and join us, all right? Then, if you have any questions that you want to pose to us, please go to slido.com, and at the code, type parenting. You can, at any time from now on, just post a question there. It will come to us. All right, let's move on. Okay, you can see these 2 pretty ladies here. Both of them are licensed counselors, all right? To my far left is E.Laine. E.Laine, okay, has graduated with a bachelor degree in psychology and done her master in counseling. She has more than 10 years, in fact 15 years of working experience of dealing with individuals with different kind of situation, from substance abuse to prisoners, helping special needs kids, so on and so forth. Very rich credential. Then we have Wendy here, also a licensed counselor. She has done her master and now she's pursuing her PhD in Monash. She's married. Before she has a chance to really study, she was married, busy helping the husband establish the business, and at the same time, have 3 children. All right, the 3 children are aged 13, 12, and 7. Okay, without much further ado, I pass the time to Wendy to kickstart. All yours, Wendy.
Right, thank you, Teresa. Right, good morning, mothers out there. I could see all of you there on the screen. So like Teresa said, it would be good if you put yourself on the screen so you'll be more interactive in a way for me. Okay, so basically, today's topic is about parenthood, thriving parenthood, right? Now, when you started the online, you could see that there are 2 questions there that I raised up. How will you rate your parenting from 1 to 5? 1 has been very low and 5 is very high. And the second question I have on the poll is that what do you think your child will rate your parenting from 0 to 5? I will get back to you with the result later on. Now let's just move on to parenthood. Well, I cannot find my clicker now. Right, okay, so parenthood. Now, parenthood basically is the scariest hood you will ever go through. I mean, marketing, when they advertise, they basically just show you that, marketing is parenting is easy, it's beautiful, the children are always laughing, you are laughing, your husband's laughing. But is that really the truth? Well, I think you know for yourself. Okay, I just want to share with you the four handles of parenting. Now, psychologists have identified 4 parenting styles. One is the authoritative, 2 is authoritarian, 3 permissible parenting, and 4th uninvolved parenting. I will not go very long with this. I'll just roughly run through with you. I think some of you can actually identify this approach. Every family doesn't have only one parenting style. Sometimes you may have an overlap of 2 or 3 different parenting based on, 1, the situation at that time. Maybe, you used to be a very permissible parent, but sometimes, you're not in the mood, so you are just you get angry, then you just become very authoritative at that time. And then also based on the child, I noticed in my counseling cases, sometimes parents tend to practice 2 different parenting styles on 2 different child. And 3, sometimes it's also based on the condition or the situation. Hence, you practice different parenting. But most times, we tend to lean towards one more than the other. Okay, so the first parenting style that I want to introduce to you basically is the authoritarian parenting. So authoritarian parenting is basically like you living in North Korea under the rule of Kim Jong-un. Okay, so in authoritarian parenting, basically is I say, you do. A child is to be seen but not to be heard. If my rule is A, you follow. If not, you'll be punished. That's it. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter how you feel. That is not important. What's important is what the rule is, and you follow. Now, the second parenting style is the authoritative parenting. Authoritative parenting is merely putting the child in your area of parenting. Meaning, when you set boundaries, you set the rules, you have a regard for your child's feelings and emotions. You may have set a rule, and then sometimes your child says, "Oh, I don't like this rule," but then you take the time to explain why this rule is important, how it actually is parallel to the family value. You take into consideration your child's feelings and emotion. Now, in authoritative parenting also, you set the boundaries, you set the parameters. And you give the child the freedom to work within that boundaries. And it comes with reward and praise, but also there's also always the consequences if the child chooses to break the boundaries. Authoritative parenting is really very much about trying to build relationship with the child and effective communication, meaning open communication. You build trust. You put in a safe space for your child to express his or her feelings and emotion. Then we have the third parenting style, which is the permissible parenting. Permissible parenting is merely basically, okay, so we have rule A, B, C, but on some days or most days, okay lah, you can go ahead lah, it's all right. I will close one eye, or it's okay, my child will learn through the hard way, or you want to jump from the bed, please jump. When you break your leg, then you will learn. So that's called permissible parenting. I'm sure some of you have seen kids who go to the supermarket, who run around, and you yourself not the parent who want to grab hold of the child. Well, that's called permissible parenting. The fourth approach of parenting is basically the uninvolved parenting. Uninvolved parenting, basically, parents who allow the child to be the parent themselves. They decide what they want to do, how they want to do. The parents are basically hands-off. The child has the free rein to how she or he wants to do. So I'm just going to share with you very quickly some of the cases that I work with children with different type of parenting. Now, basically, I just want to emphasize that the way we parent our children the way we manage them, the way we handle them, has a long-lasting effect and significant effect on their behavior and personality. I just want to repeat that again. The way we parent our child, the way we raise our child, has a significant and long-lasting impact on our children's behavior and personality. So if you ask, oh, my child is like this, maybe it's time to just reflect a little bit on your parenting. How have you contributed to the child's behavior or personality? My first case is basically, I have a case of a 27-year-old guy. I've been working with him for the past 1 year, and when I spoke to him, he came to me with a presented issue whereby he has very low self-esteem. He came for validation from me. So he's always looking for external validation from others. He doesn't have many friends. He is always trying to prove himself to others, but he's never happy. Now, basically, when I work with him and ask about his family, all I hear was that my father is very strict, my mom is very strict, my mom and my dad are always shouting at me, they call me names. So he dropped out during his second year of university, and the parents guilt-trip him on that all the time. The parents always say, you're not smart, and then they put the brother first in everything because the brother do well in school. So my client is basically always looking for relationship outside. He actually visited prostitution, he actually watched pornography, he does gambling, online gambling as well. That is the authoritarian example of an authoritarian parenting. And while he's actually a very obedient child, he had dinner with his parents, and when the parents wants to have dinner with him, he will go. He will do whatever his parents wants him to do. But if you ask me, I tell you, he was a very angry man, very unhappy, and basically he has very high risk. He takes high risk actually on online gambling, really, because it makes him feel good. That's the only time he feels that he's good enough. Now, another form of parenting is basically, let me move on to the next one. So the effect of authoritative parenting, basically, I think for the first time that I say about authoritative parenting where you involve children and all that, I don't have a case to share because happy child don't come for counseling, But basically, children who are raised with authoritative parenting are very confident with themselves because the parents allow them to speak their minds and their thought, and whatever minds and thought they have is actually being accepted. So they're not afraid to share what they feel. They have very high self-esteem of themselves. They're not afraid to take risks because knowing that they take risks, if it fails or if it would not disappoint their parents because their parents are still accepting and embracing. They're not afraid to basically fail. I realize that even if they fail, they are able to bounce back very quickly. That is what you call resilient. Children who are resilient are basically children who can bounce back after a disappointment or even after a failure because the parents are always accepting. Now, another form of another way of parenting where it's called permissible. I have a case of a 15-year-old girl. She was presented to me because of behavioral problem. When I asked more about parenting, about her parents, basically she told me that her mother gives her free rein to do whatever she wants. So she was 15 when she had a sexual relationship with a 22-year-old man. When I asked more about her, she basically gets to decide what she wants to do. She can go mama, she can go party, she can go and do basically anything and everything. As long as she come back at home, that's all. Now that is what you call permissible parenting. She was referred to me by the mom because she got into trouble. So permissible parenting basically happens when the child gets into trouble, then the parents come in. But children of that kind, basically, they struggle. They could not find their placing because they do not know where they go. They are just basically randomly going from one place to another, finding their placement and all that. So there's no grounded ground for them. And basically, when I see this client, she always comes with full makeup. She said she don't like who she is. So and then she said she always, she will eat, then she will vomit. I think it's called bulimic, where they eat and then they vomit because she wants to look good. So they always put themselves at risk because they are very much, how do I say, influenced by friends outside. Yeah. Now, the another form of parenting is uninvolved. I have a case of a 10-year-old girl. Basically, her mom is a single mom. She stays with her mom. She was referred to me because she self-harmed. She's 10 years old and she self-harmed by cutting herself at night. So when I asked more about her mom, because a child spends basically 90% of her time with the parents, so definitely we asked about your parenting, the parents. Her mom basically is a very uninvolved mom. The mom picks her up from school, leave her at home, and she eats her own, she does her homework if she wants to. Basically, she's on her own. What struck me about her is this. She's actually very, very unhappy at home. She cries at home at night. She told me once that when she shared with her mom her problem about a friend, her mom told her, suck it up. You are 10 years old. The world is so much harder out there. Do it yourself. Manage it yourself. Don't come to me. That's what you call uninvolved parenting. Yeah. So basically, if you don't get involved in raising your child because you think that your child is going to learn his way or on her own, I'm sorry to say that you're very wrong, because a child needs you to be there to guide them. A child that basically have an uninvolved parenting, they actually struggle academically. They are actually very lost. And most time, they will have very low self-esteem. And the more uninvolved you are, reportedly, they are the most unhappy children. Now, just a quick one. I quite like this one. Before I was married, which is very true for me, I thought I have all the theories, how I would want to raise my children and all that. But after having 3 children, I'm lost myself. Yeah. Now, if you were to ask me, and based on all my cases that I work with children and parents, what is the basic foundation of thriving parenting? To me, it's only 2. Out of the other handles, 2 really stand out for me: relationship and communication. Please do remember that we are social beings. We can never live alone. Do you know, I just realized that even monk, right? Even monk, they do meditation, they're on their own personal space. By the end of the day, they still come back together with other monks and they pray together. So no man is an island. I don't believe that. What more so children? Children needs their parents to be there for them. Now, in my cases that I work with, when I look at the child and I look at the parents, what stood out for me is the relationship between parent and child in the family. Relationship only works when there is communication. I think for you and for me and for every one of us, we can relate to that. When you stop communicating with that one person, eventually the relationship would have been different. Dynamically, it will be different. So, relationship in this new era is harder now because conversation involves handphone, mobile, texting. I even know a family whereby when they call the children down for dinner, it's not through calling, it's through texting. And the children will respond. Even the husband will respond. Now, basically, I just want to go on the relationship. Relationship is really, in a family system, we cannot say the relationship is only one. There is no one relationship. We have 3 different relationships and they overlap. We have the husband-wife relationship, then we have the parent-child relationship, and we have the children-children relationship. If you look at my slide, you'll see that actually they are overlapping. So basically, in a family, no one is independent. One relationship that fails affects other relationship. No matter how you say, oh, no, it does not, trust me, it does. Okay, so basically, I just want to emphasize again, relationship, one change in a relationship in the family system affects other relationship in the family. So like I just said just now, relationships are harder nowadays because conversation becomes, it's all about texting, arguing, coming from phone calls, and then it becomes like, it's more about like, Instagram, Facebook, like who is liking me, or who is this unfollowing me. So all this has become the new social communication in the young people and also in old people. I also started Instagram lately, so it's quite nice actually. Now, basically relationship between husband and wife. Now, I just want to emphasize that at the very core of a family, the relationship between husband and wife is very important. You think that if my husband and I are not in good terms, so long I don't tell my children will be fine. I will tell you, I'm so sorry, it's not true. Children are the most sensitive ones. In my cases where I seen my client, a young client with behavioral problem, it all starts with, because, okay, let me rephrase my sentence. The client that I work with who are young, when I talk to them, right, they feel insecure. Because when I talk about their parents, they always tell me, my mom and my dad are separated, my mom and my dad are fighting. And that affects them emotionally, psychologically. Just let me share with you, on the cases of my 10-year-old who self-harmed, her mom is separated from her dad. And she is badly affected by it. She felt alone. She felt that she was the reason why her parents divorced. Children always self-blame themselves when the parents fight. They think it is their fault. They never think that, my father and my mother cannot get along, it's because of them. No, they always think it's their fault. Now, the second one is, husband and wife, in a relationship, so when you and your husband, you have to check your relationship with your husband. Because kids are the most sensitive ones. And in parenting, you and your husband should be a team, the same team. Never be in different team. I do know case whereby father has a different approach, mommy has a different approach. I hear so often, daddy is the good cop, mommy is the bad cop. Why are there two teams in a family? In one case that I've come across, the child was referred to me for behavioral problem. I requested for family counseling. So I have the 4 families sit together. By just looking at their sitting arrangement tells me clearly there are 2 obvious teams in the family, father and daughter, mother and son. Whenever when I ask a question to the daughter will look at the father, she will answer, then the father will support her. So I raised the question, how many teams are there in this family? In the family, the husband and wife are always the A team. Husband always supports the wife's decision, and the wife always supports the husband's decision. If your husband say no, and you disagree, I suggest that you hold it back first, let him do his parenting, and you support him. You can always discuss it behind closed door, away from your child. That would be my recommendation, because a child will know, daddy is on my team. And kids are very smart. They know how to manipulate you. And kids who comes to me for behavioral problem, I tell you, they are the most strongest one in the family. Because when they have behavioral problem, someone will have to bend in and bend backwards for them. Yeah? Okay, now, the second one is basically relationship between parent and child. I just want to encourage you that you have to decide whether if you are a parent or if you are a child or if you are a friend to your child. Even in counseling, we have such thing as no dual relationship. It's very hard. I can never counsel my husband because when I counsel him, at first I will put on my counseling hat. But give me 2 minutes, I'll go back to the wife. I will wear on my wife hat and I will start, Then he will say, how can you be a counselor? I will always say, I'm not a counselor, I'm the wife. Right? So same goes to you. If you have your child with you, and your child tells you an event, you have to decide very clearly, am I the parent to guide my child or I'm a friend? Friends they are basically like, oh, it's okay lah, you're fine, you're okay, okay. What, you did this? Oh, okay. A friend would do that, right? Because friends supports one another. But parents, no. You're the parent. You know for better. This is not acceptable. You tell them it's not an acceptable behavior. Now, I just want to encourage parents because I work with children. Oh, before that, I think maybe you're confused, like, oh, wow, what do I mean by work with children? Because I used to be a school counselor, so I work with children, and I also try to tie in parents in my counseling. Basically, children, I want to encourage parents to see your children as who they are and what they are capable of becoming. I know some children are not, okay, all children have their own unique characters. I just want to quote this Psalm 139 verse 14. For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Know that your child is wonderfully made. No matter what colorful characters or behavior he has, they change. If you can guide them and you're consistent with your guidance and with your values and you create the parameters for them, you give them the ground. You give them the ground. You let them, because kids, they forget. Kids always forget things. You tell them one thing, they will remember now, and then maybe give them another 4 or 5 hours, they forget and they repeat the same behavior, or 1 week later they may repeat the same thing. It's okay. Repeat until it gets embedded into their head. Repeat until it becomes a norm for them. All right? Just for example, like my son, I asked him to make the bed. It took me like every day consistently. The first day when I asked him to make the bed, he didn't make it. He said, yeah, I will do it, but it wasn't made. Then the night itself, although before he sleep, I asked him to make the bed. Not because I'm being revengeful or vengeful, but because the principle is that I said, make the bed. So it went on for 1 week, reminding him every day, every morning. You know, it's like nagging lah, but I still do it. But now it becomes a spontaneous act for him. He gets up, the first thing he do is he makes his bed because it's already brainwashed, and also to prevent me from nagging him lah. Right. Now, I just want to encourage parents also to be embracing. Listen to your child. Don't just hear. Listen to your child. If he or she says something that you don't like, listen first. Listen and then ask, what makes you think this way? What makes you feel this way? If a child tells you an event and you didn't like it, or it may be, okay, for example, you didn't like it, okay? Then you can always ask your child, how do you think you can do it differently? That way, it gives the child a sense that, oh, I am in control of the situation. Instead of you berating and telling the child, why do you do this? You shouldn't do that. You're so silly. You know, we are very quick to judge. My question to you as parents is this. If you go to work, you do a mistake or you do something, if your boss says this to you, why you do like that? You don't think one, how will you feel? So if you didn't like that, would you done the same thing for your son or your daughter? So before you comment or before you give your judgment or your opinion, I highly recommend you take a step back. Think first. Let it run through your head for 5 seconds before you say what you want to say. Because I think all of us will want that for ourselves. And also make clear, a no is a no. Children are really amazing. They are really, really very, I would say, persistent. When you say no, they will persuade you, they will tell you, please, 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 please. Until then, you say no. The next thing you know, you say yes because you got tired. A no is a no. The vitamin no is actually very powerful. Please note that. Now, relationship between a child and a child. In my cases that I work with, parents very unconsciously do favoritism. Favoritism is a very, very big thing. I grew up in an environment where favoritism runs in the family. I can tell you it affected me until I grew up and I finally learned that you have to learn to love yourself. Because I've seen cases whereby favoritism has caused the child to lose confidence in himself. They think they are not loved. The case of my 27-year-old client, he grew up feeling not loved because his brother always performed better academically. The brother is always excelling in sports. So the parents always compare. And the parents give the best to the brother because the brother can perform, can deliver, whereas he cannot. And he grew up seeking validation all the time. And he has difficulty building relationship with others because he don't trust the people actually like him for who he is. And he has very low self-esteem because he felt that he was never good enough. Now, communication. I just want to say that communication connects people. You can't go, okay, you can say that, today I'm not going to talk. Try. And let me challenge you that. After today, maybe try not to talk the whole day. Let's see if you can get things done also or not. Basically, we are human beings. We need to communicate. Communication, the biggest problem with communication, this is very true. We do not listen to understand, but we listen to reply. You know, when you ask your child, why do you do this? In your mind, you're already thinking because he's a bad boy, because he doesn't know how to think, because he's not logic thinking, because you are thinking ahead of him before he answers you. So you don't actually listen. You only hear you only hear noises, but basically your judgment has already started to apply in your mind. Now, effective communication. Let me share with you a few key things about effective communication. Your child is an individual. Please, if you want respect, you give respect. Respect goes both ways. Not only I'm the parent, you're the child, you respect me. No. You want respect, you give respect to the child, because kids learn from imitating you. Right? Keep it simple, short, and brief. If you want your child to make the bed, just say, make the bed. Don't put in judgment like, why are you so lazy? I tell you how many times. No. Keep your instructions simple, short, and easy. Focus on the behavior of the child, not the child. If the child do something naughty, just say that I don't like this behavior. This behavior is not right. This is not the good behavior I expected out of you. Focus on the behavior. I always tell my son, or my children actually, I cannot accept this behavior because that's not not our family value is. But I still love you, but not that behavior. I don't love the behavior. So I make it clear. Use iMessage. Basically, iMessage meaning I feel disrespected when you talk to me like that. Sometimes my 13-year-old kid will throw a statement to me and it actually offended me. I will say that, do you know, I feel really upset that you talk to me like that. Do you know, I feel disrespected with the way you said what you just said to me. And give grace. I want to encourage parents to give grace to your children. Give them room. Give them the safe space for them to make mistakes. It's okay to fail. When they're young, it's okay to fail, because when they fail, that's when they learn. When they make mistakes, is when they learn. Don't tell them it's wrong to make this mistake. Let them learn to make mistakes at this young age, because there's always that room to recover and to make up, not when in adulthood. I just want to encourage to empower your children. Your children are actually very... You know, if you were to ask me, how would I say about parenting in children, is basically prepare them, give them the skill set, give them the right emotional set, so that when they are ready into adulthood, they can actually leap forward with confidence, that they can actually go into adulthood with confidence. Children must be taught how to think and not what to think. The thing about us parents is we think we know better for our child. Do you really know what's best for your child? Because if you know what's best for your child, then why are you having problem? Why are you struggling in your parenting? Parenting is really about raising children and help them know and realize their fullest potential. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be not that best in anything that they do. Even if their drawing looks, sometimes they color the face of a doll purple. So what? It's okay. It's creativity. So empower your child. Get to know your child. Embrace your child for who he or she is. Accept them. Their thoughts, their opinions is fine. And I just want to emphasize, it's okay if they fail or they don't do well. It's okay, because they have so much room to grow. So basically, I just want to end this session by asking you 2 questions. If you have rated yourself at the beginning of the poll, And after listening to what I've said, and with E.Laine also, she's going to share later on, what do you think you would do differently? Or what do you think you can do to push your parenting rate from X to Y? What do you think you can do differently so that your kid can rate your parenting from X to Y? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wendy, for walking us through the two important handles, right? So, yes, I'm E.Laine, and I'll be also sharing with you the next two handles. So before we begin, for those who are out there, especially for fathers who are tuning in, I always want to highlight fathers because usually moms tends to attend parenting classes or lectures and whatnot, but fathers are the one that pushes the wife. Yeah, but if your fathers out there, yeah, please give a pat on your shoulder. Yeah, and wife, please love them a little bit more. Okay, so thank you so much because I'll cover that a little bit later. All right, so for my session is that we'll focus on attachment and emotional regulation, and also how are we going to manage our generation of this called I generation. Yeah, so addiction, self-harm, bullies, with all these issues that we talk of is actually behavioral issues that have root causes. Yeah. So while working with families, children, and individuals with behavioral issues like this, I often look deeper into the family system as well as the parents, as what Wendy has mentioned earlier on. Yeah, so it boils down to parenting. That's why for those who are tuning in today, you are so important. I myself as a parent too, and when I do this, when I walk through with families, they are my teachers, especially the children. They actually give me a lot of insights how to be a better counselor, how to be a better mother. So while communication, parenting styles are important, we also want to look into how are we going to be a role model in order to how we regulate our emotions, because that's very important. It goes down to how we feel. It goes down to this is something that we often don't talk about in family, as well as it's something that we not taught in the family. Yeah. So and then now we are entering. Not even entering, we are in the I generation, and especially when the millennials that we work with, especially also now our children who are born with all these technologies and so on, and even parents ourselves are also avid users of technology. So while we are in this generation, we cannot ignore or in denial that our children will thrive in this generation. So we cannot even say that, oh, how come when I grew up in my generation that time, we were so different. We were given sticks and stones and we can survive the whole day. But no, it's not the reality nowadays. Children don't play with sticks and stones nowadays. Yeah. So this is what we are going into later. So now we come to parent-child attachment and emotional regulation. Yeah, this is a really important topic that we often, parents neglect it. I myself too. But because I do have the background of what we study and what we do, this is something that I would like to share with all of you, yeah? So I will have a video to share with all of you. Basically, this video will explain to you, will show you what is attachment and how it regulates emotion, all right?
Babies this young are extremely responsive to the emotions and the reactivity and the social interaction that they get from the world around them. This is something that we started studying 30, 40 years ago, when people didn't think that infants could engage in social interaction. In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
I'm my good girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother, like, "Come on, why aren't we doing this?" Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it, they actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay. I'm here. And what are you doing? Oh, yes. Oh, what a big girl.
It's a little like the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is that normal stuff that goes on, that we all do with our kids. The bad is when something bad happens, but the infant can overcome it. After all, when you stop the still face, the mother and the baby start to play again. The ugly is when you don't give the child any chance to get back to the good. There's no reparation, and they're stuck in that really ugly situation.
All right, so the video shows a still face experiment, meaning to say that this is something that we, as we were an infant, that's where our secure base is actually our parent. Yeah, the secure base is also the caregiver if there's no parent. It could be our grandparents, it could be the nanny, it could be anyone that is taking care of us when we were at that stage. So at that stage, that's where the infant actually it's to be responsive to the mom, as well as the mom or the parent or the caregiver to be responsive to the child. So if you can see in the video, the still face experiment is that when the mom is the secure base, attending to the emotional needs of the child, yeah, the child responds positively. So that's where the child learns to regulate his or her emotion. So when the face turns still, what happened? The child fuzzes, the child cries, the child maybe grew very frustrated. And what happened? Then it goes on and escalates the behavior when the mom did not provide the response at the time. So imagine this is only just an experiment. And if we think throughout, the growth, the development of the child throughout teenager, and as parents, we are not being the secure base, then the child will learn to be very insecure. The child will be growing to be very not able to have self-confidence and also a lot of self-doubt. Yeah. So for 18 months, during infant is really a crucial time. I would say that this is a time where the child will establish a secure base with the parent or the caregiver. So because this is the 18 months period, it is the basic need of the child that has to be met. So many people will say that, oh, we will pamper the child. Oh, we don't let the child cry, or we don't want to carry the child so often that the child will be too pampered. I would say no. The best time is to carry your child. The best time is to rock the child. The best time is to be there for the child for the first 18 months. So parents who have young children at 18 months and below, yes, this is the best time for you to provide the secure base for your child. Yeah? So if there's consistency to become the base for the child, the child would then be able to develop the sense of security when the child grows older. So some people will say, oh no, my child is already past 18 months, so how will I die? Or how is it? No, the next window is actually 5 years window. All right? So the 5 years window is where the child enters school. This is the time where the child goes to preschool and the social environment has been expanded. Yeah? So this is different challenges. Yeah? Challenging of being rejected, challenges that the child would not be able to adapt, yeah, and the child will be not able to be accepted, and these are on and on at this stage. So when this stage, it is important for parents, while we are working out there, yeah, we can also be the secure base. When the child comes back, what do we do? Yeah, do we hold on to our own things, or do we put our presence, our time to our child? Yeah, so this is important. If let's say your children are at this stage right now, be mindful that you are still the secure base. If you have missed out the 18 months window, don't worry, don't beat up yourself. But remember, if you are a parent of a 5-year-old and below, yeah, attend to the child, because we do not want to dismiss the child's emotional experience. For example, we talk about young children. They do have their stress. Yeah, we don't dismiss their stress as we minimize their stress so much that we don't understand them and they don't understand us. So we try to understand what they are going through in a daily basis. All right. So what happened to 5 years and above? Older kids, lagi jalat. How? Cannot already. No. Yeah. It is possible, but it involves a lot of perseverance, patience, and a lot of persistence. And don't forget prayer. Yeah? So older kids, when they are now in their teenage stage, and you feel that these children tend to be insecure and tend to be more sensitive, yeah, that is where the secure base has to come into place. And who is the secure base? None other than parents. Yeah? If they are spending too much time out there with their peers, if they're spending time too much out there with daycare teachers and so on, and if the people that they are engaging with, they are not a secure base for them, then where are they going to be influenced by them, and where they're going to place the security on them? Yeah? So as parents, we need to come back and to think about who and what role do we play in our children's security. Yeah? All right, so when we talk about emotional regulation, it boils down, the tipping point is actually self-esteem. Yeah, as counselor, as a social worker, with my experience throughout the years, I encounter a lot of children, a lot of young adults, yeah, with low self-esteem. Speaking on behalf, I myself is quite a low self-esteem person too. As I grow into my teenagehood, yeah, I often, not able to present myself in the public, and at the same time, I can't even order food at the hawker center. Yeah, so I would be able to understand how it is to grow up, having poor self and low self-esteem. So the tipping point of emotional regulation, as we watch from the video, as I've mentioned earlier on, is basically self-esteem. What is this self-esteem that I'm talking about? Basically, is how I feel, and having this internal ability to feel positive, to stay positive, and have these feelings about my accomplishment. Yeah. So if you were to ask yourself as parents and as adults, how healthy is your self-esteem? Yeah. Because if your self-esteem is not healthy, the chances that you will be a weak, secure base for your child, because you tend to be insecure, you tend to be driven by insecurity, and you tend to be inconsistent and tend to be overly worried and anxious. Yeah, so think about that. And now I will not just throw you to the sea and let you drown. And here are the strategies in nurturing healthy self-esteem. All right. Number 1, speak words that build your child. Growing up, I remember myself. My father is kind of a military style, yeah. So he would often say that, "You're no good lah, like this. I don't think you can do it, yeah. So buck up and do better." So I don't think these are the words that build me. In fact, these are the words that make me feel even more low self-esteem, because I cannot buck up, and nobody is there to help me to buck up myself, yeah. So that is where I fell into the trap of having low self-esteem. So speak words. Words are really powerful. It can build a person as well. It can destroy a person. All right. So and also when we speak aggressive words, when we speak angry words to our children, I think sometimes adults tend to be in an angry side, because maybe we were being brought up in an environment that is very aggressive and hostile. Tendency of us being angry and hostile is very high. So when we speak aggressive words to our children tend to also pick up aggressive words and tend to be more angry. So when we talk about cases of bullies or cyber bullies, yeah, so our children may not be the victim of the bullies, but be the bullies, right? So because why? They do not understand of the aggressive words that have been instilled to them, and therefore they would then tend to instill to others to become the bullies and not the victim. All right? So we know that nowadays cyber bullies is not just by action, it is just by words. And with that, you see children as young as 9 years old committing suicide because of cyberbully. All right? So take note of that. And these words, "I am proud of you," is something that we do not often speak of. You know why? Because I often do interactive session with teenagers in the school. And when I spend time with them, they were all opening up, talking about how they hate their parents, of how their parents do not love them and just do not spend time with them. It's how bad it is, because they label their parents as baby boomers, and what they say about baby boomers is that they wish the baby boomers will be extinct and will be blown off. So it is how bad it is. Then when I ask them, why is it so? How is it so? Help me to understand. And the reason what they shared to me was, they just want to hear the words, "I am proud of you," from their parents. It's just that. And it's just mind-blowing to me. So from that day onwards, I went back home, I told my son, whether he's 5-year-old, 4-year-old, I said, "I'm proud of you in what you're doing." But of course, has to be in context, but not all the time, yeah? So remember, this phrase, "I am proud of you," it is something that we parents and our teenagers, especially who needs validation, they need to hear this. That parents is proud of what I am and who I am and what I do. All right? Number 2, okay? How do we nurture healthy self-esteem? Is to notice the effort, not the results. Oftentimes we jump into results very fast. "Oh, what results do you get today? Wow, you get an A. Good job. Good girl. Good boy." And then we don't really highlight, "Wow, I see that today when you do this, prepare for your exam, I like to see your perseverance. I enjoy seeing how you prepare, and then I enjoy seeing your courage of doing that in front of people. I like the way how you practice self-control." So label this effort that your child has done, so that it is not just "good job, well done." So good job on what? Well done on what? Yeah? And very often we will say, "Good boy, good girl." Yeah? So these are something that we are taking it so lightly. Remember, when we highlight the effort, when we highlight that, we will be able to enjoy the process of them giving us the fruits of the results. Yeah? Number 3, help your child learn to fail. Okay, I think Wendy mentioned this earlier on. It's not learning to be a failure, yeah? is learn to fail. Fail is not the end of the world. Yeah? Not being able to tolerate failure will leave kids vulnerable to anxiety and vulnerable to a lot of self-esteem issues. And the ability to learn to tolerate disappointment and imperfection is something that we want to journey through with our children, because we are trying to live in a world of perfection. Yeah, when we as parents, you ask yourself, we often strive for perfection, right? And we want the best. But sometimes because of this perfection will then transfer to our children, and it then create a lot of stress for them. So like Wendy said, it is okay to fail, but as parents, we need to teach new challenges. We need to teach to try new things, and then to be able to recognize our failure and disappointment and to talk about it. All right? Okay, so why we want to do this with our children is because there is this case that I work with where the boy was 14 years old, and what happened that he got his final results, and then he got a B and some C's, and immediately he wanted to take a plunge down the third story of the school. So the teachers stopped him, and then they pulled him back and realized that because of his final semester examination, he got a B and some C. So he was a high achiever. Yeah, he couldn't take the B, he couldn't take the C, and he wanted to jump off. So life is such vulnerable and fragile to this boy. And when I journey through with him and realize that he is actually a high achiever, and when I talk to the parents say, no, I did not give expectation to my child. But sooner or later, we realize that actually the parents themselves are high achiever themselves. Parents themselves are neurologists, parents themselves are doctors, and doing very well. But because of that, the child take it upon himself that I need to buck up, I need to meet the expectation of my parents. All right? So this is something for us to think about. Sometimes it is not our expectation, but it is also how our children learn from us and observe from us. Okay? Number 4 is to allow space for your child to develop to full potential. Yeah. The space is very important. What I mean about space is actually exposure. Teenagers nowadays lacking of exposure. Yeah. Lacking of exposure hinders them to becoming full potential and to identify their passion. Yeah. So when I give career guidance to teenagers when they graduate from high school, when I ask them, what do you want to be? I don't know. This is a time where they need to find their vocation. They need to proceed on to their college or university, and they can tell me, I don't know what I want to do. So many of them are like that. And it kind of concerned me because when I kind of probe in further, I asked them, what do you do when you were in your schooling days? What else do you do before your besides your studies? All they can say is gaming. All they can say is they stay at home. Or they can say they go for tuition. That's all. So the exposure of gaining social experiments, social experiences is very minimal. Yeah? So empathy, passion, and strength is something that we want to instill with our children, especially teenagers, when we expose them to certain exposure. For example, when my child was a very young age, I bring my child when I do social work. Yeah, that's when I started working in the community. I bring my child along. I expose him, whether it is to bacteria or germs that is in the low-cost flats, I don't care. But the thing is, the exposure will help him to understand, hey, I am not just living in my bubble. Yeah? So that's where my child will learn how to associate with different group of people. All right. Next is we talk about emotional regulation. we also want to talk about this emotional cup that I want to share with you. Teenagers with self-harm tendencies are really rampant nowadays. Yeah? Most of the cases of self-harm often relate to family stress, siblings rivalry, and also a lot of loneliness. Yeah, this is the emotional cup that I want to share with you, that every child, including us, is like a cup. Yeah? What empties the cup is actually stress, rejection, loneliness, failure, bully, and many other external factors. So these are the ones that empties the cup. Yeah? So what will fill the cup is basically love and affection, play, connection, and attention. So with that, when the cup tends to be empty, we become very insecure, become very anxious. We will try to look for other sources to fill in our cup. So where do these teenagers go and fill in their cup? So they involve in relationship, they go and seek for other external short-term relief to fill in their cup. So what will fill the cup is our attention, our love that will fill the cup. All right? So,
Yeah, all right. We still have one more handles. Maybe you can briefly summarize the tackling the I generation. Yeah? Just take another maybe 5-10 minutes so that we can move on with our question and answer. All right.
okay, so I quickly move on, to tackling the I generation. So we'll spend about maybe 5 minutes on this, all right? So many will ask me about what do I do when it comes to introducing gadgets to my children. So I will take you through from the guidelines provided by WHO. It says here that young children should not spend more than an hour a day watching TV, videos, or playing computer games. Yeah? Young children should not spend more than an hour a day. An infant less than a year should not be exposed to electronic screens at all. Okay, so this is not my guideline, yeah? This is the WHO guideline. So if you are wondering where do I get it from, it is actually from WHO. Okay, so now we come to practical tips on parenting the I generation. These are the best practical tips that we can think of. Number one, be a digital role model. Put down your smartphones, your gadgets, your laptop, your tablet, and be present to your child. Yeah, we as adults, we need to be practicing detox, digital detox as well. Have you tried to practice digital detox yourself? Yeah. So for example, have you fasted from social media for some period of time, and you can experience that it is very different and you're able to be present for your child. Number two, engage with conversation for all aspects of your child. On online activities, remember that, because when they are engaging in their activities and we do not take serious or we do not take it interested in what they are doing, sooner or later they will not want to tell us anything at all. So when parents come and tell me, oh, my child don't want to tell me anything, it's because why? Because we don't take effort, we don't take serious matters, we don't take interest into what they are doing. I give you an example, K-pop nowadays. Yeah, to parents, what is K-pop? What in the world is K-pop is? But to young people nowadays, it's their world. Yeah, if we do not take interest, try to take interest of what it is, we will lose them into the K-pop world. One example is this BTS group and Blackpink. If you do not know what I'm talking about, please go and find out what is it. Because when I work with teenagers, they after a series of counseling sessions, they will come back, Miss, I don't want to see you anymore. Then I was like, wow, are you feeling better now? Oh no, now I feel better already, and I can enjoy my life already. Then I said, how is that so? Oh, because of BTS. I was like, what is BTS? So I began to find out what is BTS, and then true and enough, it is something that young people nowadays are really into K-pop, and they become counselors. BTS become our work, yeah? Or they even take place of parents, yeah? So be mindful of that. And then strive for screen balance. For example, homework or chores first, and then screen later, yeah? Designate tech-free environment and for the family. If this time we want a family dinner, no technology, no talking on the phone, and we just put it aside and have family dinner. Yeah, and this includes parents as well. If parents, remember, you are the digital role model. If you cannot put down your phone, you cannot do that during dinner time, do not expect your children to be able to do that, all right? And finally, teach risk, responsibility, and consequences. This is where we want to instill autonomous in our children. What do I mean by autonomous? Autonomous meaning to say that I am able to make my decision given the choices that are given to me at children's stage, at when they are going to school, because they will need to make decisions. They will learn how to make choices given to them. And when they make the choices, they will need to also learn that there is consequences and there is responsibility of the choices that they make. For example, giving them the phone, yeah, for the first time. Many parents will ask, how do I give the phone? Because nowadays we cannot not live with the phone. Yeah, we must live with the phone because for communication, for all this, yeah. So allow your child to have phone, but there must be terms and conditions. There must be also responsibility and consequences. For teenagers, as they grow to teenagers, the teenagers will then grow wanting to have love and belonging. So when, for example, if the child have not learned to be responsible of their things, to be responsible of their choices, when they grow to become a teenager, they will not be able to take responsibility of themselves. And when they have crossed certain boundaries, yeah, they do not know what would be the consequences are. Usually parents will start to punish. Usually parents will start to reprimand. For example, parents will start to snatch away their phone. This is something that we cannot allow that, because when you snatch away the phone, aggressive behavior will increase. Yeah? So start with setting the rules, boundaries, having a contract. Okay? Having a contract meaning to say that you write down the contract. From today, I will give you this phone for you to use for what purpose, and if there's a reason for you to violate the boundary and cross the boundary, I will take the phone away. Okay? So this is all written down. All right? Okay, so that will be from me for today.
All right. Okay, parents in the house, let's give a little clap, to both Wendy and E.Laine for this insightful talk. Okay, now take a 5 minutes bio break, and we'll see you again. In 5 minutes, we'll move on to our question and answer session. Thank you. All right, welcome back, parents in the house. Okay, as you can see, sitting with us today, we have two more fine gentlemen have joined us. Okay, I think the camera need to turn a bit and show the two of them. Yes, they are no strangers to us. Yeah, onto my far left is, opposite me is Pastor Posing, and beside him is Pastor Stephen. Okay, as you can see, yeah, they are rich in their life and pastoring experience from the quote-unquote silver crown, okay, on their head. Okay, all right, Pastor Posing is a pastor that leads a Gateway congregation. Yes, he and Anne is blessed with 3 children. They are adult now, age 32, 29, and 25. As for Pastor Stephen, yeah, he is a pastor that leads the family zone over here in our Puchong congregation together with Pastor Mark. He also, with Big Kim, are blessed with 3 teenagers. They are 16, 15, and 13. Now, of course, just now I missed out to mention E.Laine. Okay, she's already taken, yeah? She's married with a 5-year-old, all right? Okay, now, maybe I want to pass this time to Wendy to share a bit of the result of the polling.
Yeah, hi. So remember the first question, how will you rate your parenting? So 1 is to very bad to 5 very good. Just a quick one. So basically 62% of you rate yourself as average. We have 14% that says bad, and then we have 34% says good. So nobody wrote themselves as very bad or very good. The second question was really about how would your child rate your parenting? Also the same. 62% of you rated yourself or think that your child thinks you are a good parent, or average parent. 31% says good, and 7% thinks your child would rate you bad. But nobody thinks that the child will rate them really bad or very good. So thank you for voting, or thank you for contributing your answers.
Yeah, hopefully by the next parenting talk, the result will be better. Yeah, we will be like A+ kind of parents in the house. Okay. Okay. To kickstart our question and answer session. Okay, one step backward. So if you have questions, yeah, please post to us by going to slido.com, and the code is parenting. Post us any questions. We'll do our best to cover your questions. Now, to kickstart, I would like to pose these questions to Pastor Posing. All right. In growing your children, what have been some effective ways for you to help regulate your child emotion?
Wow. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a privilege for us to be here this morning. I think I really like what Wendy said earlier at the session. She said that parenting is not easy, and I think we testify to that parenting is always a difficult job, right? Especially in relation to this particular question, is about regulating emotions for your children. We are the product of really the product of our communities and our culture, so to speak, and so in that sense, for my children. They are born in Malaysia, but they grew up in the Philippines because I worked there for many years. And then they studied international school, and then they graduated overseas. So in a way, they don't think exactly like how I do, or how Anne and I do, in that sense. And so from that standpoint, I think we really need to know the character of each of our children and how they think, And so as an example, my eldest, she, at a very young age, is very independent. She's very composed. And so it's very hard for us to kind of read her emotions at times. She seems to be in control. And so we have to look for other things to give us a clue. Is there anything wrong? Is there anything that we need to help her? And so things like, for example, any change in habits or in her schoolwork, in school performance, this kind of like helps us to at least find out or be aware that some things may be happening in her own life that she's not telling us, so that we can help them. So I think knowing the character of your child is very important, and how they react. And conversely, my youngest is very expressive. Right, my youngest would talk to you and so often, sometimes she would be so expressive that I get overwhelmed myself. It's like, oh Lord, help. I don't know how to handle this. Okay, so different kids, different styles. So as an example, I think one of them, but this is really already when they're in a teenage age already, in high school. One of my kids, she's in the tennis team in the school, and she is really very involved. She plays competitive tennis, and so it was coming to her final year in high school, and she was expecting really to be the captain for the team for that year. Okay, but she has put so much effort. She loves the team and all that. But apparently the coach was thinking of appointing a younger player, okay, to be the team captain. And obviously that was really frustrating. That was really something that it was a discouragement or disappointment to her. It was very disappointing, and so you know, we had to try and help her. We know that she was very disappointed, but as parents, we didn't want to add more negativity into that situation, all right? So what we did was to try and encourage her, as well as also to encourage her to talk to the coach, you know, to talk to the coach privately. Because knowing this child, you know, she's more expressive and all that, and she's very competitive because she plays competitive tennis. She's ranked 11 when she was under 16 in the Philippines, so she's a fighter, so to speak. And we felt that if she didn't kind of like take this up, she might regret it later in her own life and say that, you know, why did I just let it go? Why didn't I do it? So we kind of like, while we didn't want to add negativity to it, but we really want to encourage her also and support her to try and talk to the coach, and at least she knows for herself that she has tried her best, you know. And obviously, while she managed to, well, they talked, and then I think at the end of the day, they agreed that she'll be also co-captain. So I think it worked out well for her. I think these things are important for them, because as they grow up to college, they need to have a good student resume, and, you know, they fight for position, leadership, and all that. So I thought that was good. You know, but not that Anne and I, my wife and I, although we know that it was very disappointing, we didn't kind of like take things into our own hands. We didn't kind of like try and solve the things for her and, you know, like get angry and go to talk to the teacher or to the coach and try to force things through, you know, as parents and all that. But we kind of like allow them to resolve it. So.
Wow, that's great. For wisdom. You know, I do know Anne and Poseng personally. I can see that their family relationship, yeah, especially parents and child, they are bonded. I think that's one good word to describe the family, bonded. I truly believe, you know, both of them have played a very major role to connect with their child. And through that incident that he shared, it speaks of so much more how both of them, I believe, have input wisely, right? And really think through how to connect and make the best of every situation, that the child will be who they are, not just carry out what the parents say. Yeah. Okay. Now we heard a fair bit from Wendy to talk about relationship with spouse. Yeah. So this question is for you, Pastor Stephen. Besides hearing from Wendy, is also another parenting guru, Gary Ezzo, has mentioned that many times. Relationship with spouse is a primary relationship in the family unit to bring about stability at home and also security in children. Okay, so maybe Pastor Stephen, you can share with us how you prioritize and protect your relationship with your spouse.
Okay, all right.
Because you are the love guru in the house.
Okay. Me and Bikim, we first of all, we see that marriage comes before families. So with that, we invest time and resources to build and grow our marriage. So these are things that we do. When our children were young, I told them straight away that Mommy is the most important person in my life. So I want them to know that they are not in control, basically. And then Bikim and I, we will spend time together. You know, we will have our marriage time. We will go on the getaway without the children. We will go on date without the children, just to let the children know that spending time with each other is important. And of course, to build our marriage, we will also have sex often, okay? And what we don't do is that we don't fight in front of our children. We don't, when Bikim discipline the children, I don't interfere, even though I may disagree with her, but after the whole thing, we will talk separately in the room, and that's what we do to better our marriage and thus impact the children upbringing.
Thank you for that. You know, have you wondered? So if the parents are together, this is very possible to help to build the child security. But how about children with divorced parents? How would they go about to build the child security. So I posed this question to a single mom, and I see how she managed to raise her child to a fine young man. So I posed the question to her: how did you help to build your child's security? So from a divorced single parent's perspective. So I want to read her answer to all of us here. Number 1, reassure them of love from both parents. Align with acts if possible. Let them know that you will always be there for them. Number 2, rebuild their self-worth. Encourage them to share feelings. Listen to them and address their concern or questions honestly. Number 3, I find this very powerful and important. Refrain, do not, bad-mouthing other parent or your ex, interrogating their time together, making the child feel guilty for spending time with the other parent. Number 4, restore home support system with family and friends. Number 5, redesign age-appropriate boundaries, adjust accordingly as child grow. Now, not only that, she also posed this question to her child or to the son, Now, this is what the son replied. I find it so beautiful, Listen, try along with me. Probably because you always reassure me as a kid that it was not my fault and that it was just between you and dad. And I never blame myself, for the divorce like some kids. And also because you always tell me you love me and stuff lah. Yeah. So I always felt reassured. The fact that I can also see my dad as opposed to being completely cut off also helped, I guess. I still feel, that's why he said, I still feel like I got both parents, even if they don't live together. Yeah. So that's so beautiful. No, wonderful. I really want to applaud the single mom, for doing such a good job, to watch after the child's hearts in all that she's going through. As a single parent, you might want to, out of that emotion or vengeance or disappointment, say the certain things, to the children to vent out. But let me remind you all, even through this single mom's advice, don't do that. Guard your mouth, because in your mouth is life, right? Speak life, speak love, Now, we do receive some questions here. Let me go to the Slido. Right. We now have 5 questions. Let's see how many we can cover. Maybe Wendy can help us to answer this question. My 4-year-old son is strong-willed, can't accept failure, also low in emotion tolerance. He will hit people unconsciously when he is upset. Any tips to help him?
So the child is 4 years old, right? And he hits out when he's angry. Is that what the question is?
Yeah, he's strong-willed. He can't accept failure. Yeah. And he will hit people.
Okay, so the first thing I will always encourage the parents is to work on the behavior first, which is hitting. Hitting is never right. No matter how angry or upset, you do not react by hitting. I think one thing we can always teach our children is about responding. Kids naturally have they basically have no impulse control. So basically, when anything happens, impulsively they will react. Second thing kids don't have is they go into instant gratification. When something happens, it's an instant thing. So parents can always teach the child about delayed gratification. Delayed. So first thing I will encourage the mom is to talk about the behavior. Hitting is wrong. Keep reminding the child hitting is wrong. The second thing is failure. I think the parents need to help the child to understand. Maybe perhaps parents can, like E.Laine said, words are very important. So the word, it is okay. It is okay that you didn't do it. Or it's okay that this didn't turn out the way it turned out. Or I know it is not nice to fail. Or I know it's not nice to not be able to do what you wanted to do. But the word, it is okay. is very, very important. Just a quick one to share. I don't know, I hope my son won't kill me for this. But the last exam, my son actually failed all his results. He actually failed all. When I look at his results, I was shocked. He's 12. Huh? But what I did was I told him that it is okay that you get this result. I mean, it's not okay. Personally, as a mom, it's not okay. But for me, it's that this is a good learning time for you. It's a good learning time for you to know that whatever you did was not right. Maybe there's another way you could have done it better. My question to him was, how would you do it differently the next time? That's all I did. He cried a little, but not because I scolded him, but I think he was thankful that I didn't scold him. So give them the grace to say, it is okay this time, but next time, how will you do it differently? Yeah. Give the child the autonomy to decide. Yeah.
Any one of you want to add on to that?
I think at 4 years old, it's something that the child, is a phase that the child will go through. My question for the parent, for the mom, is that if the child is in school, definitely there's something to pick upon from school because the competitiveness starts very young. Yeah, so I would do, my child at 4 years old was very competitive as well. And when we play bingo and zingo at home, he would definitely want to win. So we would not allow him to win all the time and he would just freak out and fuss and everything, which I will let him to do it, but I wouldn't do that as openly. I will have a closure with him. So closure is very, very important. If this is a behavioral issue, and every behavior has the function of the behavior, why the child behaves like this. It does not just pop out all of a sudden like that. So basically, when my child went through that motion of that, I make him, fail, make him lose to the second or the third, and then I would then have closure with him through the night time before he sleep. I would then go through the whole process with him, and then after later on, the season went off. And he was able, at 4 years old, yeah? So remember, it must be age appropriate. Yeah, if your child is at 4 years old, go at the level at 4 years old. Okay?
Wow, yeah, at night, yeah, I like that, to talk to him and regulate the emotion. That is very important, yeah, to take note that we must find the right window to talk to our kids and to regulate their emotion and teach them the right way to respond. Okay, now, I have these questions, yeah. Let me read to y'all. Okay, my preteen has addiction with gadgets. I have a contract, but she broke 90% of the rules. I penalize her, but doesn't work. I can't take phone away. What can I do? Wow, this must come up with game plan. Okay. Wow. Okay, so a bit to do with, even though we contract, also still break the rule. But she says she can't take the phone away. Okay, what would be some of your advice?
I have a question to the parent that raised that question. You said, I can't take away the phone. You can't or you do not want because you are worried or afraid or you're too tired to face the consequence of the way she will react if you take away the phone. So if you take away the phone, maybe when she goes to school she needed the phone, fine. But when she comes back home, does she need the phone at certain time? So the question is, a lot of times we say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that as parents. But the question I always ask is, you can't or you don't want, because the effect of it will be much bigger and more painful.
Yeah.
How old is the kid?
Not mentioned here. Yeah, maybe that parent can take note of what Wendy has to say. You can't, or it causes you inconvenience when you take away the phone. Yeah. So parenting sometimes it really causes a lot of inconvenience, sacrifices, and you got to be stronger willed than your child. Really, yeah. Okay, I have a questions here. Probably Pastor Stephen or Pastor Po Singh can help us. I have parents who are not in good terms with each other, but they are not separated. What would be your suggestion for young parents to regulate their emotion? Okay, let me read again. I have parents who are not in good terms with each other, but they are not separated. What would be your suggestion for young parents to regulate their emotions?
So me? First of all, let me just say that I'm on very good terms with my wife. Okay?
You have no problem with that. Okay, all right. Of course, you are pastor in the house.
I suppose there are obviously times when we would, argue, or there are times when things are not perfect. I mean, we can never be perfect parents, so to speak, right? But we have along the way learned a few things, like one of you all have mentioned earlier, that as far as possible, we do not fight in front of our kids or argue aggressively in front of our children, and also that we try not to disagree in terms of how do we want to address our kids in terms of their behavior or things. So we kind of learned that early, and when maybe not perfect in every situation to implement that. Okay, but by and large, we try and remember that. By and large, we try and resolve things on our own before we face the children. Okay, especially for major decisions or things that are important, then we try and kind of already agree what we need to do, how do we want to approach it. Sometimes maybe even when should we find the best time to bring this thing up. Do we go out and have something to eat and then bring it up, or we find a better time? I mean, so these are the things we kind of strategize in a way behind the scenes before we address the children. I hope that answers the
that's
question.
An input there. How about Pastor Stephen? Maybe you can add on.
Okay, for me will be, first of all, the not in good terms can be very vague, okay, but it all depends. So there are tools that potentially a couple can learn. One is to really have marriage time, as in spending time together as husband and wife, just to build a relationship and better the communication. That's one. Number two, husband and wife have different mode of communication usually. So learning communication, recognize the communication style. Number three, very often I find that couples do not have conflict resolution tool. So when they fight ugly. I believe fight is okay, but we just need to have a proper conflict resolution tool. So we want to learn, and depends on the degree and intensity of not in good term. Seeking counseling from trusted friends, from leaders, or someone to journey with you in your marriage will help you better the marriage, and thus, in your family relationship.
Thank you for that. Now, I think maybe E.Laine can help us to input on, because you're a young mom, okay? So he or she asked, I'm not sure, but young parents regulate their emotion. How can young parents regulate? Sometimes it comes upon my mind is that maybe these young parents just transit from being a single to a mom. Suddenly, add on so much burden, adjusting of lifestyle, cannot sleep through the night because you have babies or whatever. So how can a young mom regulate their emotion?
Yeah, I think this is something that I didn't have time to cover earlier on. That is, as parents, especially moms, I came across many of my friends who also have a transition from marriage to become parent. And then maybe there is a decision for the mom to quit the job to be stay-at-home mom. So it is a major decision because as mom, as women, there is an identity to that. Yeah, sometimes a major identity is also the career part. When I have to quit the job, my identity lost. And moreover, if I have a child, I even have lost my identity for my child. Yeah. So in terms of for parents or especially moms, keep your identity. Meaning to say that although a pretty big chunk of your life is for your child, yeah, always remember to have time for yourself. Yeah, many parents say, I don't have time, we only have 24 hours, I wish I had 48 hours or more. But no, we only have 24 hours. That's where my spouse will have to come in. Yeah, my spouse will have to come in to help me as a mom or a newly mom or a young mom or a young dad and so on. There's need to work together so that father or mother, do not lose your identity. Easily for mom, but not for fathers, because fathers will continue on with their career and so on, being the breadwinner. But moms are the one, maybe have to stay at home 24 hours. That's really shocking. Yeah. So this is something that if mom lost their identity, self-esteem go down, and then networking goes down. Yeah. So be connected. Be connected with same group of people, young moms. Connect yourself so that you can support one another. Connect in a positive way, yeah? Not the other way, more coping, yeah? So that you are more supported. I find that when I went through my early stage of parenthood, I have a group of moms that really supported me, whether it was breastfeeding or, transiting back to work or something like that. So there's the emotional part that we are supported. So I would encourage the mom or the parent that you're not alone. You need to be supported. Don't cave yourself with your misery. If you really need help, please seek help. In your emotional, in your emotional aspect, please seek help. That is very important. Yeah. All right. That's from me.
Good. That's good. Now we want to move on to the next question. I noticed my child going through anxiety which manifests with her needing to go to the toilet frequently. We don't pressure her. She enjoys school. What can I do? Now I read again. I noticed my child going through anxiety which manifests with her needing to go to the toilet frequently. We don't pressure her. She enjoys school. What can I do? I think, like it or not, anxiety attack is one of the major situation or social how should I put it? Social situation, which is very frequently I heard and seen, be it because of the socio-economic situation, right, in the land, or even in schooling, going to online school and all those kind of things. I think anxiety is very real nowadays, right? Anxiety attack, Maybe we can take a bit time talking about this by first answering this question. Any of you would like to take it away about, the child going through anxiety and manifested in needing to go toilet frequently?
Okay, anxiety often linked to stress, and when there's huge bout of stress, will often link to anxiety, and then the severity is to go to depression. So SAD, stress, anxiety, depression it's kind of a gradual thing. So when the child is at the anxiety stage, meaning to say that we need to go back to the stress, the stress can be multiple layer, can be multifaceted. So do not look down on stress, because children's stress is very different from adult stress, and which adult do not know and do not understand how to process stress. So meaning to say that I will go back to the child's self-esteem. Remember, we talked about self-esteem, how to nurture the child's self-esteem, how then able to regulate the child's emotion in a healthier way. So for that child, simplify schedule. Okay, simplify the child's schedule. Nowadays, kids are super busy. When I have counseling session with teenagers, they will tell me that they do not have time to sleep at all. It shocked me. Because, I already very busy, and what more, they're even more busy than I am. And they do go for tuition for Saturdays and Sundays, and art and ballet and music, and I do not know what else. You're smiling at me. So with all that, yes, they seem to enjoy it, but at the same time, it stresses them out because of why? Transiting here and there, and then it disrupting the sleep. So I will also ask the parent about the child's sleeping habit. Sleeping is very important, because child goes into computer, it goes to dawn, and then they don't sleep, and then they wake up and go to school. So, but they don't see it as a problem. But in the long run, it then will deter them for becoming healthy in their mind and in their emotion. So strive a balance of sleep, have a good healthy of sleeping habit, and then the schedule, simplify schedule. If do not need to go for a certain thing, please don't. And then make sure parents at this stage stay at home with the child. Yeah, because I have cases that parents will often go out wee night, only come back because they want their own time, and the child are left at home, yeah, for them to manage. And parents, working parents, left the child at home with the maid, and all the time the child will always have the access to the internet or gadget all the time. So no boundary, okay? So always remember to have this simplified schedule, all right? Yeah.
Wendy, you want to have any input? Especially in the area of like, they are anxious is an emotion. How to regulate or draw them out from the internal world? Yeah, to ease that anxiousness.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that question. So anxiety is really within the person internally. I will strongly encourage the parent to actually sit the child down, to really ask, hey, I notice that you tend to go to toilet often. Is there something going on that you perhaps would like to share with me? So the point is basically to encourage the child to speak up. Some kids may have trouble trying to express how they feel, because when you ask a child, how do you feel? Okay lah. What is okay lah? Okay lah can range. So perhaps a parent can say, is there a reason? Is there anything that is making you upset? Is there anything that is stressing you? Is there anything that you would like to share with me? Is there anything? Always try to pry and allow the child to speak his or her mind. And then the next question I always ask, or a parent can ask is there anything that I can do or help you? Is there anything I can support you? So always allow, so that kind of give the child the autonomy as well, that, okay, you are hearing me, now you are trying to help me, and you're helping me because that's how I want you to help me. A lot of times parents help the child thinking this is how the child wants to be helped. But the right way to help a person is to always ask the person, how can I help you? Not this is what you need because this is what I can help you with, but how can I help you? Yeah.
All right. Maybe we need some pastors' input here. Talking about the heart of parenting, actually, we parents ourselves need to have a wholesome emotion before we can, right, speak or minister to our children in the area maybe anxiety. Maybe, what are your thoughts of how we can have that kind of emotion in God? How can we have that emotion? How can God help us, especially as parents, to have the wholesome and right emotion? What comes to your mind?
Are you referring to the fact that we should talk about the fruit of the Spirit in us?
Probably, yeah. How God can help us in that.
I think as parents, I think the key really, when we're talking about addressing the emotion of our children, is that we need to make ourselves available to them somehow or another. I know we have to be mindful of our own emotions. I mean, so we try not to overreact in negative situations, right? We try and try to help them address the realities itself, okay? But not to overreact, So I think at the end of the day is we have to fight for time for our children as parents, especially for those of us who are busy, we work a lot, you're in business or you are in corporate world and all that. And so we really have to find time, fight for time. And one of the things that we do, Anne and I, or rather she insists, was that when I was working heavily outside, and also we also have to do ministry work, she would insist that I at least come back for dinner, and then we eat together, and then we talk together as a family, okay, and then I can go out again to do my things, all right. So we try and manage that as often as possible. That I have dinner with the kids as often as possible, okay. And also another thing is that I suppose many experts probably rightly recommended that we date our children and kind of like bring them out. But that for me doesn't really work because I am, it's just my makeup, I suppose, because if I date my kids, I feel as if I have an agenda to accomplish, and after 15 minutes, having breakfast or something, and that's it. I can't process anymore. So my way of doing it is really more to find moments with them. All right. Like if they're doing something and just hang out with them and then catch that moment when I can say something to them or extract something out from them. And so mine is more organic, like, in that sense. But the key is still to try and find as much time as possible with the kids to help them, to know where they are actually in their emotion, and then see how we can help them overcome them.
Yeah, basically you're talking about having that one-to-one time, right?
Yeah.
Catch a moment, outflow from your very wholesome heart as a father. Then you can minister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I add on?
Yes, can,
okay.
please.
I'm a more practical person. From what Wendy and E.Laine have said, I think the key word here is time, okay? So maybe I can share something that me and, or rather my wife Kim has done, and I don't see that often in many family, especially young parents. Okay, one is Kim from young. Kim actually put the children to bed, and that's a very good time to talk. When the lights are off. So when they talk, when the children, I think children tend to, or at least our children tend to open up and talk in the dark. And as they talk, I guess that gives an opportunity for Kim to regulate the emotion or address certain issues or things like that. And that is good, I think, rather than out of the blue, you call your child and say that, let's talk. That occasion may not happen often, that's one. Secondly, I feel that a lot of time parents do not have a discipline for the children to go to bed early. Yeah. I see young children like 5 years old to even 7 years old at the mall at 10 o'clock, even at mama at 11 o'clock kind of thing on the weeknight, So I feel that a discipline to have children to sleep at certain time, it's, first of all, it's good for the children. Secondly, it's good for the parents, just like what E.Laine said earlier. The time, the parents say that no time. I think if you let the children have certain hour of sleep at certain time, you have the rest of the time to have self-care, to spend time with God, and which is very needful, or to spend time with your spouse, or to just do house chore. And that 2-3 hours a night, in a weeknight, can be very helpful. And many times, if you are asking for input on God factor in your question, parents don't have time. Get up early in the morning, already busy getting the children ready to school and get themselves ready for work. And nighttime, sleep, the whole family sleep at 11, 12. Where got time for God? And where got time to get input from God?
True. Thank you for that reminder, Pastor Stephen. Yeah, true. Yeah, we parents, we need to be wholesome ourselves. We need to have God besides having our support system. Yeah. Now, because of time, right? I supposed to wrap this up, but there's this question coming in. Yeah, I find 2 persons ask this question, so maybe we can quickly take 3 minutes to answer this. All right, we try our best. Okay, if you really need to go by 12, please go ahead. If not, stay a little bit longer. Maybe we need another of your 5-10 minutes. Okay. Now this question is this: what is the appropriate time boundaries for gadgets or games and all that? A lot of parents nowadays struggle because sometimes the children can carry away. And so what is the time limit? Any of you all would like to input?
Oh, okay, I'll share on that one because I'm actually doing a study on online gaming for young children. So like E.Laine said, WHO stated that 1 hour for a child. Basically, what I practice with my children is an hour. That's it. I told him, your time is 1 hour. And I said, you have to be mindful of the time. He's 12 years old. And he has to take responsibility for it. Once 1 hour is up, he needs to stop by himself. If he takes away, he do it more than an hour, like maybe 15 minutes, I give him grace 1-2 times. But thereafter, it will be used for his next gaming time. That means the next day, 45 minutes. because you broke the rule. So it becomes, although he fights with me, but that's the rule. Then I said, that is the rule. We have agreed, and that's the rule. So I applied that. But another rule is, if you don't do well in your studies, then no gaming until your next exam result. So you make it very, very clear, and you apply what you say. Eventually, kids, they fight, but eventually they will accept that is the rule. So in an hour a day is my time.
An hour a day, keep what away? No, just joking. Keep the frustration away.
The crazy
sorry.
mom away.
Now, how about weekends? Okay, weekday, yes, because they have to study, they have to do some chores, get ready for school next day. How about weekends? Do you allow more time?
I do. I allow him more grace on weekend, but provided that after 1 hour, he has to take maybe half an hour to 45 minutes break. But the most I allow him to play is maybe like after lunch only you can play, but you play from 2 to 4, but there's a break in between, and that's it. Then you have to rest, and then after that by 5, I always kick them out of the house. I said, I don't know what you do in the garden, just go. So they don't stay in the house. I cannot stand seeing kids in the house. They're like in a rice cooker, So I kick them out, and you stay out, you don't get to come in. Yeah, my rule.
How about E.Laine, you want to have anything to say? Or if not, then, okay, we're going to wrap this up. But I would like to say this because I saw it in my children. Of course, when they were young, I hold on very tightly on following the time. Okay? But as they grow older, my kids now, the oldest is already 23, the second is already 20 years old. So they no longer so into game. And they know how to have their boundary. I find one thing true that I find work for us as a family is that as they grow older, they realize that there are so many other things that they can do. We need to draw them out from just having the gadgets. We need to point them to so many other things you can do. All right? And we also highlight to them that certain things that you do is really certain things, you play too much game, sometimes it can be wasting your time. So a little quick scenario was that my son, one of them at one stage, he said he wants to be a gamer, right? So he wants to just spend time playing game. After the frustration of trying to reprimand him, so there's one holiday, said, okay, you play all you want. Okay, let's see how much you can earn for your playing game. All right, let them go through whatever, True enough, after I think a good 2 to 3 days, he earned, I think, 40 cents, So I say, you see, your 40 cents cannot even give you a meal. So that is not working, all right? Be a gamer is not the way forward. So today, he no longer really into all these things, Okay, now, we got to wrap this up. Maybe E.Laine, you want to share some resources with us,
Okay, so resources for young parents, especially when we talk about how do we talk feelings with our children. We can't just, how you feel, or don't know what is that. But these are some of the books listed out on the screen, and I use this in my therapy session with my children as well as with my child, and I find it very useful because it's developed by psychologists. So these are a set of book of feelings. What do I feel when I'm angry, I'm sad, and disappointed. So I find the book on disappointed was really useful, especially lonely, disappointed, and angry. So through that, every night I read to and with my child and process through my child's feelings, especially with also young children in my therapy sessions. So it is really good book. It can be obtained in MPH Click, and it's a set of books. And the other books on the right side is actually books on problem solving. I find it reading with children is really, really useful because they think in pictures and visual helps them. So these are the resources that you can actually go and look through, and hopefully it will be beneficial. For what age group is preschool, as young as they are alive, and preschool, and maybe towards middle school. So they are okay. And also remember, when they are teenagers, those who likes to read, parents, please go through the books before buying for them. I have a case of this book. It's called Dog Diaries. I do not know whether you are aware of it. It's Dog Diaries. It's basically a set of teenage books, especially for girls. It is about this girl, the writer, who actually insert a lot of her diaries. And gosh, there was this case that this girl was brought to my attention, and she was writing horrible letters and diaries, and she purposely put her diary for people to read. And when the teachers came upon the book, the diary that she was writing, there's a lot of hatred word inside that I hate this person, I want to kill this person, and so on. So when the parent discovered that and realized that she has been reading this set of book called Dog Diaries. So for teenagers, please parents, read through what is happening in the books before you buy it for them. Yeah, there are many dark books out there.
All right, thank you for that, yeah, E.Laine. Okay, now it's time for us to do to close. We have imparted to you all much knowledge and information. Yet if you don't apply and practice, yeah, it just remain knowledge. So you want to build or nurture emotional resilient kids, do whatever that you have learned, practice it, okay? Apply it in your parenting. Now, before we part, I want to read this Bible verse to you all. Psalms 127 verse 1. It says, unless the Lord build the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watch over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. So, in your parenting journey, beside all the knowledges and all the informations that you gather, do include God. Yeah, pray to God for wisdom, for strength, for guidance, the right experiences to come by your children, and for the right moment to catch your child to talk about whatever to help them to regulate their emotion. Okay, God bless you, parents in the house. Enjoy your parenting journey. Bye.